Okay, Dr. Sil, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Hope you are doing good.
Fine.
So, thanks to Almighty Allah that we are back with a new episode regarding the IQBAL series, Allama Iqbal series, Allahi Rahman. And today we have come up with a new and lovely, much debated, much discussed topic, IQBAL and West. So, Dr. Sohail, my very first question will be, how did Iqbal perceived West? When I say West, I in totalitarian mean its literature, its scientific developments as a whole. How did Iqbal perceived West?
So it's an interesting question. The point is, before trying to say how Iqbal perceived West, so it's if I use the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, he just in the times the notion of West, he talks of Eurasia as a part of Europe, largely British Empire, which was dominating. We perceived West in Iqbalian theme in that way. But you can say if West is not a geographical construct, it can be taken as part of Asia. But the way Iqbal tries to see West, it's not only as a geographical construct uh, uh, in an era of colonial era, but he's also trying to see both interface of the philosophers, the scientific developments, and the way Western civilization in that times, the way it dominated the other areas, uh, general and the Muslim subcontinent or general subcontinent in that sense. So Iqbal is engaging both with the idea of West, not only in the sense of having a peculiar, what I should say, adjustment to the times he was living in. But he's basically engaging with West both in terms of philosophies, in terms of ideologies, in terms of culture, in terms of civilizations, and contrasting it to his own romantic, what I should say, attachment to his civilizational past, which was primarily Islamic civilizational past, which had its grandeur, which had its splendor, and it had its amazing contributions wide across, what I should say, in all fields. Apart from a military prowess, you can also take it that way. So if I quote Iqbal, so how he wants to see that, if you will see the era in which he's living in, he's facing has an acute sense of being wronged in some sense, and that anguish also is somewhat adding to his way he wants to let things perceive, construct or perceive. So the very way the Western civilizations has dominated other civilizations, the West is the best against the rest. It's not now. It's very. It is old. It is old. It's old. So if I quote Iqbal, if he says, for example, the most remarkable phenomena of modern history, however, is the enormous rapidity with which the world of Islam is spiritually moving towards the West. So there is nothing wrong in the movement. So this is what Iqbal says. For European culture, in its intellectual is in on its intellectual plane is only further development of some of the most phases of culture of Islam. Our only fear is that the dazzling exterior of European culture may arrest our movement, and maybe we may fail to reach the true inwardness of our culture.
That's nice.
So the way he would say, for example, in medicine, so very medicine has derived from medicina, Sina's medicine,
Okay.
surgery. So they have enormous contributions. So he's not saying that the spirit of scientific culture, Muslims, it's part of, it's that extension of that thing in some. But the point he's fearing is that the splendor and the dazzle and the glamour of Western civilization, which ultimately at deeper philosophical plane, it's influenced by philosophy of atheism, materialism, philosophy of what I should say. Big fish eats the smaller fish, Darwinian notions of stronger. So he is somehow repellent. He's saying that the civilizational grain of our civilization or Muslim civilization or Eastern civilization, it has some values which are antagonistic to Eastern values. So he wants to somehow protect them. So some aspects of Western civilization, he's saying that they are appreciative and they are part and they are somehow extension of our earlier thing. But there are some reservations also and huge reservations.
Thank you, Dr. Sahil. The very famous verse, even you might have gone through that, or I think every Iqbalian lover would have read that. एंड मैं आपसे कोट करना चाहूँगा, बड़ी 2-3 लाइंस बड़ी फेमस हैं इकबालियात की, जो उन्होंने मगरिब के बारे में ही लिखी हैं, अगर आपकी इजाज़त हो तो। थैंक यू सर। दयारी मश्क के रहने वालों, इनफैक्ट इस दयारी मगरिब, दयारी मगरिब के रहने वालों, खुदा की बस्ती दुकान नहीं है, खरा जिसे तुम समझ रहे हो वो अब ज़र कम अयार होगा, तुम्हारी तहजीब अपने खंजर से खुद ही खुदकशी करेगी, जो शाख नाजुक पे आशियाना बनेगा नापायदार होगा. I think these are lovely lines from the Iqbalian poetry. If you, sir, please can elucidate it in a few more words.
So this is sort of an indicament of Western civilization, that the very materialism or the very belief of its civilization, the values, the way it has evolved, the godlessness, the belief in materialism, belief in now, belief in domination, and belief in the culture.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Is it a kind of a warning that Iqbal is giving there?
It's a sort of, there's a sort of prophecy also attached to it. So maybe partly things are also coming true, the way he said 120 years back, 109 years back. It's part of his earlier poetry. So you can also, if I just quote him, if I just second it with, for example, he says, "Tu sitaron ki guzargahon ki sair karne wala, अपनी दुनिया की सैर कर न सका, उलझ गया ऐसा ख्यालात को कि खमो पेच में आज तक फैसला नफा जरर कर न सका." It's equally. So it means that you have gone the way we can just in astronomy, we can even have gone satellites, we have reached moon. So in Iqbal's time, we have not reached moon, but the constructs were there. We had discovered solar systems. So there have been a lot of developments there going on. So even though he is appreciative of that on one side, but on other side, the very colonial empire, the British Empire, which had its attendant effects on the subcontinent, particularly or in generally also, and the grain of that thing is continuing till date. The way we have seen things are evolving. So in Iqbal's time, America was not as a superpower in the map, geographical map. As his idea was Britain as a subcontinent, and he also discussed Russian thing. These two ideologies, but you can say the modern day later how America is basically extension of Britain in that sense. So you can say so even if we have discovered things from DNA to microscope to strings to thing, but he's emphasizing that there is some disconnect between the moral fiber. So you have not, even if we have materially grown, but we have not morally, we have gone down. So he is trying to see it in that sense, what I should say. Yes.
Okay. So in continuation of that very thing, though you have expressed your thoughts, I would like to once more ask this thing, and if you can please add a few more words to it. Was Allama Iqbal alayhi rahmah, really hardliner critique, or did he acknowledge Western thinkers and philosophers?
So you can say one part of Iqbal was totally critical of West, but he tremendously benefited or explored the Western philosophers. If I'll say, if Immanuel Kant, if you read his Reconstruction, in start he talks of Kant.
Okay.
Immanuel Kant, he talks of Kant has been gift to his own country.
Okay.
So Kant also wanted to rehabilitate religion at some level, not entirely in that sense. You can see a comparison between Kant and Ghazali in starting Reconstruction. And if you just see, if I say there, if I quote, for example, there is an element of appreciation as well as criticism also in the same breath. In his, I'll quote. If I'll just, I found some verses in different from Bali Jibril to Armagani Hijaz to Payamistic. You can see scattered verses here and there. For example, if I have chosen some, for example, Marx, he says, "वो कलीम बे तजली, वो मसीह बे सलीब, नीस्त पैगंबरो लेकिन दर मा किताब." So you can take him to the level of prophethood, but he was a kaleem be tajalli. So he wanted to develop. He had he wanted to have passion, compassion for mankind. But on the basis of shikam, he uses the word shikam in some other point. Di Paigambar hak nashinas basawar bar sawati shikam daras. But his what I should say, solidarity is based on shikam. It's food. So his if Bible says that man cannot be live without for bread only. For Marx, man lived only for bread. So this is a critique of Marx also. Okay. So he is acknowledging that Marx has some significant philosophy. So if I just quote, and for example regarding Nietzsche, he says, "अगरचे पात है तबीयत राही इसकी, तरस रही है मगर लज़्ज़त गुनाह के लिए." So you can repeat it. अगरचे पाक है तबीयत राही इसकी, even though he is pure. अगरचे पाक है तबीयत राही इसकी. हाँ, so he is pure. He seems. He's saying about Nietzsche. About Nietzsche. Okay. तरस रही है मगर लज़्ज़त गुनाह के लिए. तरस रही है मगर लज्जत गुनाह. So because he famously said God is dead, and you can say, या अगर तो again he's अगर तो वो होता मजरूबी फरहंग इस जमाने में, तो इकबाल सिखाता इसको मुकाम किबरियाई की. So this very verse was for Nietzsche. हाँ, even though it seems that Iqbal is egoistic, super egoistic in that sense, but he is trying to say somewhat he was a prophet who was lost in that primeval forest in search for truth. So he's appreciative as well as depreciative, you can say critiquing the same thing. Or he says, "खीरा कर न सकी मुझे जलवा दानिश फरंग." Yes. So if I just say, for example, in the why he is saying the same thing is again. So if I quote Spengler, which he has also quote in Decline of West, he says. The what I should say post-mortem or the prognosis of a civilization coming, it organically growing up, then at it having a decline. So it's a natural process. So Iqbal is not just converted to this thesis. So he wants to say the very prescription when adapted to our the Muslim subconsciousness or the Eastern subconsciousness, the prescription somehow demotivates you. Or it somehow वो आप में एक sense of गुलामी लाती है. It's sort of this prescriptions that he said that Muslim civilization अभी है, what I should say, what he अभी खा के अर्जुमन में, he has said he has faith that even the Muslim civilization or so it has something in it, the spark in it to come again. That just needs to be ignited. So it's not totally gone in that civilizational matrix of up and down. The spark is still hidden there. So you need to have right conditions of the sprout. The Western civilization has some positives to it, which you can take it, but the other part of it, he is not he appreciative of it. So that's why he's saying, ज़मीर मगरिब है ताजराना, ज़मीर मशरिक है राहिबाना, वहाँ दिगर गु है लहजा लहजा, यहाँ बदलता नहीं है जमाना.
वाह वाह
So you can
आप
say
प्लीज जरा इसे दोबारा डॉक्टर साहब.
Zamir Maghrib है ताजराना. So he's against the mercantile, British mercantile
Yeah,
thing, the way
got
they
it.
colonize the world.
Hmm.
It's Tajrana, it's business-like thing. The Eastern Zamir Mashik hai Rahibana. The Eastern thing is Rahibana. You just
Guide leaders.
Rahibana means you have that you want to go to
Forest, no
the way rishis
spiritual
go,
taste, you have
rishis
spiritual-
go, and
yeah,
these things. So it's different. वहाँ दिगर गु है लम्हा लम्हा लहजा लहजा. वहाँ the things are changing
Changing
continuously.
continuously.
Now this appropriation may not hold now. Now East has not remained East. It is modern East.
Yeah, yeah.
West is not West. It is contemporary West.
Yes.
But the thing is, should we go there? There are some. Iqbal is also not. He is simultaneously critiquing of Eastern thing also. For example, about Mullah Piri or Eastern mysticism. He is critiquing that thing also, the lethargy or the laziness by which their leaders have led them
Sorry,
into.
I want to interrupt you for this. A very famous verse comes into my mind right now regarding this when you say that the lethargicity of the West.
East, the lethargy of East.
अच्छा, the lethargicity of the East. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, okay okay. जी जी, please continue करें आप से.
So, for example, what Iqbal, so in that sense, if we just quote, so Iqbal says, if you read reconstruction, he says humanity at that time, in the 30s.
जी.
So it was the World War First was there, and it was World Second had not started. So he could, their League of Nations was. He was saying that due to this nations fighting for colonies or markets, so that has gone up to this time. He is saying that humanity needs three things: spiritual interpretation of his. What's his solution? Spiritual interpretation of universe, spiritual emancipation of individual, and basic principles of universal import, which will direct the evolution of mankind on spiritual basis.
That's
so in
great.
the third sentence, he is trying to say how can the solution also he is also trying to see. But simultaneously, he is saying that, for example, the idealist system which Europe, if I quote him, experience shows the truth revealed through pure reasons. The Western civilization is based on reason only, rationale only after Renaissance. Reason was taken as the base of it, divorced from any faith, revelation, or so. So he is saying that reason systems Europe has not built ideal system on those lines, but experience shows that truth revealed through pure reason is incapable of bringing the line of living conviction which personal revelation alone can bring. Believe me, Europe today is the greatest hindrance towards man's ethical development. So that way he is trying to say. Even when he talks of Marxism, he says that they derive their inspirations from Hegelians of left wing. Hegelians of left wing. So about Hegel, if I quote him, he says, Hegel का सदफ गहर से है इसका तिलिस्म सब ख्याली. You got me point. So he's critiquing you.
Yeah.
So he's saying that modern Marxists.
सब ख्याली.
हाँ है इसका तिलिस्म सब Hegel का सदफ गहर से खाली. He's saying that they are taking inspirations, the early Bolshevik revolution. They are taking inspirations from the Hegelians of the left wing.
जी जी.
But they are deriving things from hate and other things. There's a critique for it, and so this is his way of seeing things. Yes, yes.
अच्छा, इसी के साथ डॉक्टर सुहेल मुझे ब्याख चीज़ दिमाग में एक बड़े ज़बरदस्त फिलोसोफर, थिंकर, राइटर, मैथमेटिशियन जो वेस्ट के गुजरे हैं इसी दौर के, जिनका बड़ा नाम है और आपने भी बहुत खूब उनको पढ़ा है. एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट बर्टरांड रसल, तो उनके बारे में इकबाल
Iqbal has not the way, if you read Javednama, he has individually discussed personalities and given poems, whole poems about Einstein, about Marx, about Napoleon, about, for example, Hindi poet Barthar Hari. Have you heard his name?
Barthar Hari.
So a lot of things he has discussed across cultures and civilizations. But Bertrand Russell, he has discussed when he discussed Zeno's paradox. he discusses how Bertrand Russell has given solutions about space and time.
Okay.
So he has discussed things in that context.
ओके अच्छा इसी तनाजुर में मेरे जहन में ना सर वो बात भी आती है कि जब हम वेस्ट की बात करें तो क्योंकि उनका डॉक्टरेट भी मेटाफिजिक्स पर ही था तो इंशाल्लाह लेकिन हम इसके लिए कोई अलग सा व्लॉग करेंगे रिगार्डिंग इकबाल एंड एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन तो वो अल्लाह ने चाहा तो हम उसका दूसरा कोई व्लॉग करेंगे तो मैं कुछ अशार मेरे जहन में सर मैं इकबाल को कोट करना चाहता हूँ मुझे बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं क्योंकि हम वेस्ट की बात ही कर रहे हैं तो यहाँ पे भी वो मगरिब की तहजीब से ही मुखातिब है एंड आई कोट सुन ए तहजीब हाजिर के गिरफ्तार सुन ए तहजीब हाजिर के गिरफ्तार गुलामी से बदतर है बेयकीनी है दिल की मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत है दिल की मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत एहसास मुरवत को कुचल देते हैं हालात How can you take it these lines sir please
एक्चुअली सुनना है तहजीब हाजिर के है गिरफ्तार गुलामी से है बदतर बेयकीनी फॉर एग्जांपल if you see
isn't it these are lovely lines don't you
yes there is also sort of some prophetic elements also in them
Yeah.
so the later day existentialism absurdism so these philosophies were not post existentialism post modernism they have not in the Iqbalian era they were not there
Okay.
so he is trying to just ishara he is trying to just show you the way
since he was a very visionary and seer of
how
things.
Western philosophy goes where it's going
Where
it
it is
leads to you to sort of rootlessness when
Yeah.
there is no God
Yeah.
when there is no hereafter when there is no ethical values when everything is
no
survivalistic
morality
so survivalistic
जी जी
in that sense so stronger whoever is strong the way he can just rule the things so
है
in
दिल
that
की मौत ये जो ना दिल की मौत है दिल की मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत
well it's later first I'll just say it so
Okay.
तहजीब हाजिर की गिरफ्तार for
Mhm.
example it also is talking of गुलामी से है बतर बेयकीनी
बेयकीनी।
because he time and again his philosophy is on action अमल से ही जिंदगी बनती है
जबरदस्त
ये जिंदगी नूरी है यकीन महकम अमल पाए हम जहाद जिंदगानी में ये है
यकीन महकम अमल पाए हम मोहब्बत फातिहा
yes
जवानी जिंदगानी में है ये मर्दों की शमशीर
yes so in that sense he is in a sense he is partially trying to say where Western civilization leads to it but the panica he is using for Eastern thing so because maybe he's not it's his solution is for East so we should not
follow these footsteps
yes so
not go their way Yeah.
so and the other things है दिल के लिए मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत एहसास मुरवत को कुचल देते हैं हालात so the debate was relevant there also the way mechanization of things the machines may lead to unemployment robots will be there in today's time artificial intelligence are going to displace mankind large scale and it will be a monster Frankenstein monster which will dissolve which will eat mankind in its own so these fears have been existing since then but the thing is that the way in Marxism there is a humane element to it we should not the labor should have be given its due and this capitalism leads to there's a thesis of Marx that there is a alienation associated with the capitalism modern day capitalism how to address that capitalism so Iqbal is also trying to say the same thing he's echoing दिल के लिए मौत मशीनों के आलात एहसास मुरवत को कुचल देते हैं आलात मैं ढूंढ इस चीज को तहजीब हाजिर की तजल्ली में कि पाया मैंने इस्तगना में महराज मुसलमानी so istagna means being carefree you just enjoying being with part of this nature and other things that's the solution rather than being more calculative more observant and more so that's it
अच्छा डॉक्टर साहब ये ज़रा तो थोड़ा बहुत इसी पयाम मशरक़ की मुलिश so it's basically message for the West or was it मतलब reply to the Western philosophers and thinkers who normally and in majority of the cases they मतलब use it to just be very critical to the Eastern civilization ये उनके को जवाब था ये पयाम मशरक़ क्या थी अगर ओवरऑल अगर तो वुचो ये ये क्या पयाम मशरक, अमीन मकसद क्या उस थीम क्या है उसका?
Payam Mashriq means ये मशरिक के लिए what I should say the message for east is how
The message for West, payam mashraq, it was
that would have been Payam Maghrib. Because
it was message from the east to west.
Payam Mashriq, yes.
Message from east to the west.
Yes.
Western philosophers, thinkers, and
So it maybe need a separate thing to quote exactly what are the points he might have addressed it. So in a sense, he is trying to say our Eastern civilization has things in it, and the serenity of Eastern civilization is there. So we should not totally be done away with this thing that West has dominated. For example, when something is known as dissolution or something known as digestion. So when a superior thing comes, the inferior thing will get displaced or digested. So whatever best of East was there, it might have been assimilated by West. So Iqbal is not totally being converted, or the East has to leave whatever its values are, and they have to just accept wholesome.
yes.
So Iqbal is saying partially what we have to accept and what we have not.
Or is he being himself a balanced one?
He wants to say where West has gone overboard in its colonialism, in its materialism, in its belief in atheism or these philosophies. And he is saying that in background, Islam or the Eastern mysticism or Eastern philosophies have they have something, they have capacity. If they have worked for 800 years, 600 years, they can continue for future also. And he wants to basically the colonial yoke in which he was saying that was the main hindrance. So hindrance one was the practical hindrance that they've been colonized. The other was the mental blocks also, which उनको कहते हैं मगरब ज़दा western eastern people who were converted to them by those philosophies, but that was not also helping. This is what Iqbal wants to say.
Okay.
So that's why he wants to come back to his own roots.
Thank you, Dr. Sahil. It was so lovely and nice discussion. I love to talk to you on these topics. So, to wind up with this Iqbalian verse, ये इल्म, ये हिकमत, ये इल्म, ये हिकमत, ये तदब्बुर, ये हुकूमत, ये इल्म, ये हिकमत, ये तदब्बुर, ये हुकूमत, पीते हैं लहू, देते हैं तालीम मसावत.
So maybe yes, he's feeling bitter. You can say it that sense. But I would rather say you can say Iqbal was also one of the what I should say bridge in trying to in letting us understand our state of affairs.
Right, sir.
Including. So he was also sometimes self-critical when he talks of Piro, Kushto, Piro, Murid. He's also critical of his own these own what I should say leaders. Its own what I should say. Institutions or leaderships or those khan kahi to kar to adaras mein shabir. So he is also critiquing those mystical institutions which somehow lead you to sort of a gulami of a different kind. So he's also critiquing elements of Est, critiquing elements of East, and trying to see how we can just see best of the worlds. And the both sides.
Thank you, sir. On that very note, I would again, because it has touched my heart when I read these lines. So it's
critiquing you can take it to our times also in that sense. So you can say it's for example what he says. Iqbal somewhere he cites, "मुझे मुसलमान बनाया मगरिब की तूफानी."
मुसलमान को मुसलमान कर दिया तूफानी मगरिब ने.
हाँ, yes. So I was not conscious that I was Muslim.
Yeah. But when he went there and he at
No,
a
there are
place,
two. You can say the sociologically, for example, the people of East who go to West, there are two reactions.
Right,
One
sir.
reaction is that you become dissolved in that
you
system.
get engulfed by
No,
the
you
West.
accept that
Yeah, yeah.
theory in lock, stock, and barrel.
Barrel.
You become part of that
Part.
system.
Right, sir.
The other is you
You
come.
react.
No, there were people then and there are people now. You come back.
Back.
You say that these we have been left backward.
Right, sir.
And there is some other third category who will go there, who will say that our backwardness is that they have been falsely responsible for our backwardness, their philosophies or their. So Iqbal, you can say between second and third, you
जी
can
sir.
say it. You can.
इसी तसल्सल में मुझे और एक इनका शेर तो याद नहीं आ रहा, लेकिन मिसरा एक याद आ रहा है मुझे डाल दिया गया है मिसले खलील, मतलब he just compares himself when he was in Europe from 1905 to 1908. So he considers himself that I am just like what the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Namrud.
No, that's being part of a poet.
Right,
A poet,
sir.
for example, he is somewhere say Iqbal bhi Iqbal se aaga.
आगा नहीं.
So it's being. Sometimes he was very much if you read his trajectory, he was he basically he wanted to convey some message. He said that but his poetry the right medium.
Yeah.
So he sometimes also did not want to see himself to be as a poet.
You're absolutely right.
But sometimes at the end he said ab koi dana raz aaye ki na aaye. At the end he says, so he is feeling that his message है रब में मेरा ये नूर बसीरत आम कर दे. So he feels that he has some strong, he has some insights, and people should take those insights for the future generation.
That's lovely, sir. So nice of you again for giving your time, precious time, and inshallah we hope that next time we will come with some lovely topic regarding the Iqbalian theme and Iqbalian concept. And again, I feel very pleasure to be a part of this lovely discussion. So thank you very much, and may Allah bless you.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.